Hey guys, welcome back to another video where we are going to look at AgilePoint NX connector for Twilio SendGrid. SendGrid, which is also known as Twilio SendGrid, is a cloud-based customer communication platform for transactional and marketing email. Let's look at this connector in action. So I'm in my AgilePoint demo environment right now. So before I start interacting with SendGrid connector, I have to create an access token. Now I can create an access token both at a global level, which can then be used across all applications, or I can create it at an app level as well. In my case, I'm going to create it at global level. So I'm going to navigate to Manage, App Builder, Global Access Tokens, click Add Token, search for Twilio SendGrid. This is different from Twilio because we used to support Twilio as well, so that is still supported. This particular token is for SendGrid product of Twilio. So I'm going to click this one, click Next, give it a name, and then it is asking me for an API key. In order to get an API key, I will navigate back to SendGrid. I'm logged in as an admin in my SendGrid interface over here. I'm going to go to Settings. Before I create an API key, first thing I will have to do is I have to do a sender verification. This will be an email account I'm going to use for all my demos. So I can click on verify a single sender and then send a verification email and to my email account and verify it. In my case, I have already verified this account. Now, once that is done, I can navigate to API keys, click on create API key, give it a name. What kind of access permissions do you want to assign to it? In my case, since I'm going to use it for a service account, I'm giving it full access. And once it is done, it gives me a key which I can copy. Navigate back to manage, put the key over here and click test connection. Now, once the connection is tested, I can go ahead and save it. In my case, I already have created the token, so I'm not going to save this one. Now, once the access token has been created, I'm going to navigate over to App Builder, where I have created a sample process to show these process activities in action. But before we look at it, I have an activity group over here called Twilio SendGrid, under which there are 16 activities which are available, and we are going to see configuration of each one of them. So in my sample process, I have an add contact form, which is going to be used to add a new contact, and that is followed by add or update contact activity. So let's double click on it to see how it is configured. So I connect to Twilio using SendGrid using my access token. Now I have an option. I can say at the same time add the contact to a new list. In that case, I have to give a list name which will be created and then the contact would be added to SendGrid. Or add contact to existing list. I can give a list name or ID and the contact information, or I can add it as a global contact. In my case, first I'm going to add it as a global contact. So I map certain parameters like first name, last name, email, postal code, and country. Now, once this is done, I can go ahead and click finish. Now, on the next form, I'm going to update this contact information and I'm going to invoke the same activity with similar parameter mapping, but this time I'm going to update the information. So this is acting like an upsert shape, which is based on the context. If it finds a contact with the same email ID, then it will update it, else it would go ahead and create a new one. Email ID is the primary key in this case. Now I have put a small timer so that we can see how this is working. And then I'm going to read the contact back from Twilio, the same contact which I added. So again, connect to Twilio SendGrid, pass the email ID which I want to read back, and it provides me a whole lot of parameters. I can just map which parameters I want to be stored on my form fields or process fields. Now, once that is done, I'm going to display it on a form. Now, we have covered all the contact related activities except the delete one, which is covered at the last. Now, next we are going to move into send email. So I'm going to use a form to provide some content for an email, which I'm going to call a send email activity from SendGrid activity group to send an email out. So again, I'm going to connect to Twilio over SendGrid over here, provide a subject which is coming from my form input. What is my email of type? Is it plain text or HTML? In my case, I'm going to provide an HTML text body within my form, which I'm going to use as a dynamic variable to send out an email. I'll specify a from address and a to address and a CC address, and I can optionally even attach some files from a document repository as well. I'm going to go ahead and close this one. Once the email has gone out, next we are going to start working with contact lists. So I have a form where I'm going to take an input that what kind of contact list should be created with what name. So connect to Twilio SendGrid, provide the contact list name, and whatever list has been generated, I store the list ID back in a variable. Next, I'm going to have a form which updates the contact list. I'm going to do two operations over here. I'm going to add that contact to the list which has been created. So the contact which I created earlier in the demo, I'm going to just add that person to the list over here. So I selected this option, add contact to existing list, provided the list name and the email ID. The second operation I'm going to do is I'm going to update the list name itself. So again, I connect to SendGrid, provide the updated list name and the previous list name. So I have previous list name, the original list name and the updated list name over here. Next, I'm going to start working with email design. So email design is nothing but just like a template which you can use to do a mass mailing campaign kind of a thing. So I'm going to have a form where I'm going to ask you an email design template which can go through certain steps of approvals. And finally, once it is approved, you can go in and create it in SendGrid as an email template. You can give it a name, a subject, body. You can say that automatically generate plain text body out of the HTML body, or you can specify your own as well. And whatever design template ID has been generated, that's stored in a variable. Now, once that is done, I'm going to update it. Pretty much same configuration over here. So I connect to SendGrid, select the previously created design template, update it with new name, subject, body, or even generate plain text or not. You can also specify category. Next, what I'm going to do is using this email template, I'm going to schedule a mass mail campaign. So I'm going to have one of my forms where I'm going to specify the properties. And then what I'm going to do is for this mail campaign, I'm going to say either compose a new email, or in my case, I'm going to use that email template which I designed, provide the email template ID, the design template ID over here, the name of this single send campaign, from which email address it should be sent from. This is the address which I verified earlier in my demo while creating the access token. Send to contact list name. So I'm going to use the list which I created. I can obviously select it from drop down as well, but I'm going to use the dynamically created list earlier in the demo. And if there is any suppression group I want to specify, or any unsubscribe URL I want to give. So I'm going to specify an unsubscribe URL, and I can either set it to be sent immediately or sent at a later time. So in my case, I'm going to say send at a later time, and that value is actually coming from my form input. So I've used a variable over here. Now, next, I'm going to work with some of the suppression group configuration, activity configuration over here. Suppression group is for people who wanted to unsubscribe, and even if they belong to a contact list, emails should not be delivered to them. So I'm going to first add an email to the suppression group. So I can add that email to a global suppression group or a custom suppression group. In my case, I'm going to add it to global, and I will specify which emails should be excluded. It can be multiple emails. You have to just provide semicolon delimited list of emails in this case. Now, once that is done, I'm going to verify. The next activity verifies whether the email is in a suppression list or not. So again, I'm going to connect to SendGrid, verify if it is in global or custom group, provide the email, and it returns me back a Boolean value whether the email ID exists in suppression group or not. I'll show the results on a form. Next, I'm going to get all emails which are available in a suppression group. So this is going to again give me back a semicolon delimited list. In my case, because I created it in global, I will say get from global and a variable where these emails would be stored. I'll show those over here. And finally, I'll start doing cleanup. I'm going to first delete an email from suppression group. I'm going to connect to Twilio SendGrid. I'll say delete from global and provide the email list which have to be deleted. Again, it can be multiple. Next, I'm going to delete the email design template which I put over there. So I'm going to connect over there and then say provide the email design template name or ID over here as an input. Next, I'm going to delete the contact list which I created. I'm going to provide the contact list name or ID as a variable. And finally, I'm going to delete the contact itself. So you can see I passed in the primary email. So with this, we saw all the activity configurations which are available over here. Now I'm going to show you this in a demo. I'm going to go navigate over to Work Center, click on my application icon over here. I'm going to start filling up some information. So the email ID I'm going to use is ricky@vaxo.com. This will be Ricky Ponting, country USA, and postal code is, let's just put some postal code over here. Click submit. Now it kicked off a new process. I'm going to navigate to my task list. I have a task over here. I'm going to work off a process viewer instead of the task list so that you guys can follow the demo. So as you can see, a new form was submitted and a contact has been created in SendGrid. Now we are going to navigate back to SendGrid under marketing, under contacts. If we see there is one contact over here, I'm going to drill down. The new contact got created. And if we see the properties are specified over here as well. Okay, so we are going to go back to process viewer. And now we are going to update these values. So I'm going to open the form. Name, I'm going to use the same name. I'm going to just append a suffix over here, Ricky Ponting Jr. Country would still be USA, but the postal code I'm going to change it to something else. It's something starting with 2. Click submit. So now the contact should have been updated. If I go back and click refresh, you can see that the name, the last name has been updated and also the postal code has been updated over here. Okay, so we are going to go back to process viewer. Now I've retrieved the contacts from the contact list and I'm going to show it on the page over here. I'm going to open my form and the updated contact has been retrieved back from the contact list based on the email. I'm going to go ahead and submit the form. Next, we are going to send an email. So I'll use a form. I'll provide an from email address, which is same as the email address which has been marked as verified. Now, I could have hard coded it as well. I'm going to provide a to email address. So I'm going to navigate to one of my Word documents and copy some text over. Put it, I can use all the HTML formatting options over here and click submit. So it sends an email out, and if I switch back to my other email box over here and I click on that email, I can see that the email was successfully sent. I'm going to switch back to process viewer. Now next we are going to start creating a contact list. I'm going to give it a name, AgilePoint demo list. Click submit. And if I go back to SendGrid, Go to contacts. You can see that the new list has been created over here. Right now, it does not have any contacts. I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to give it a new name. So I added the word updated over here, click submit, and I'm going to also add the newly created contact within that list. Now, if I navigate back to SendGrid, click refresh, you can see the name got updated and also one contact has been added to that list. If we drill down, we can see the contact has been successfully added. We are going to go back to our process viewer. Now, next, we are going to start working with design templates. I'm going to open a form, give it a name, subject, and email body. This time I'm going to actually also add an image. Over here and click submit. So we are going to navigate back to SendGrid and click on design library. And you can see the new library is available. I can preview it over here as well, how it would look in various form factors, along with the image it is showing up. So next we are going to update the email design template. So I'm going to open a form, give it an updated name and an updated subject as well. And we are also going to give it some text. In this case, I'm going to say first add an image, and below that image we are going to add just maybe some text and click submit. Now if I navigate back to SendGrid, click refresh, you can see that that line got omitted from here. So this works, and also if you see, the name of the template has been updated as well. I'm going to go back to process viewer, and now we are going to consume this design template. So I'm going to open a form over here. I'm going to give it a name, from address, any unsubscribe link if you wanted to provide that, and a date time. So I'm going to schedule it for Monday, for example, over here, a few days down the line, and also at say 10 a.m. Click submit. So my email campaign has been scheduled to be sent out. And if I go back to SendGrid, click on marketing, single sends, you see there is a new single send which is available. If I click on it, it has the same email template which I specified, and it has been scheduled to be sent out on 3/14. So now I'm going to go back to process viewer, and I'm going to start working with suppression group. I'm going to open a form, specify an email address to be added to suppression group, click submit, and navigate back to SendGrid. Go to suppressions. Now you can add it to global suppression group or a particular group over here. I have added it to global. So you can see that the email ID has been added over here. Okay. Now I have also verified whether this exists or not. So next we are going to show the results. It should result a Boolean value of true. So provided the email ID, and then I got the value true over here. That means that exists in the suppression group, which we saw in the SendGrid as well. Next, it executed get all emails from suppression group. I'm going to show the results on a form. and my added email ID is available. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Next, it starts doing a cleanup. It is going to delete the email from suppression group, delete email design, then delete email contact, and finally delete the contact itself. So I'm going to navigate back to my SendGrid over here. And if I click refresh, you can see that the added email has been removed from the suppression group. If I go back to design library, the design library is empty now. The one which I added has been removed. If I go to contacts, you can see that the contact list got deleted as well as the contact got deleted. If I drill down, there is no contact available anymore. So as we saw in the demo, a business process designed in AgilePoint can now interact with SendGrid to manage your contact list, contacts, marketing campaigns, email deliveries, etc. Thanks a lot for your time.